Hello and welcome back to the Hot Off the Press podcast. I'm your host, Fenton Kelly, and last week we spoke about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as well as the Tech Uprising. However, today we are joined by Will Tompkinson to discuss fake news, criminal sentences, and more. So, Will, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks for having me.
No, anytime. Do anything interesting this week?
Not really.
Not really.
Been in previous podcasts, but that's about it.
Wow, yeah, you've been in a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
Anything interesting that you've heard from other people?
It's mostly Call of Duty.
Mostly Call of Duty. So we're going to go straight in by talking about fake or real news stories. So I've found 4 news stories and I'm going to tell you about them and you need to tell me whether they are real news stories that have been spoken about and shared or fake. So the first one, NASA is to build internet on the moon. Do you think that's real or fake?
Fake.
I think it's fake. Actually, NASA will be building a 4G network on the moon, enabling them to control lunar robots. So that's true. What do you? What do you think?
Just stick to Earth.
Just stick to Earth.
Enough problems down here with Wi-Fi. You don't want to go out of.
Yeah. I mean, they can control robots from Earth remotely, so.
Yeah, but that's the same thing as missiles, isn't it?
Yeah. Story 2. An 8-year-old girl pulls medieval sword from lake.
Fake.
You think that's fake? No, it was reported by The Guardian, BBC, and many other sources.
Sounds unbelievable.
I know. Well, you're not going to believe this next one. Scientists have taught spinach to send emails. Is that true or is that fake?
Fake.
You think that's fake? No. MIT has embedded nanotechnology into spinach that is able to detect explosive materials and send the data wirelessly to their scientists.
Has any of this been proven to be true or not?
Yeah, this is true.
A lot of problems out there when they're teaching spinach.
Well, no, it's for explosive materials, so they know whether it's safe to go to certain areas. Just sprinkle some
Sniffer
spinach
dogs.
seeds. Oh yeah, just blow up the dogs.
No, don't blow up the dogs, but...
Fourth story. A chimp who smokes a pack a day doesn't inhale.
Agree. That's true.
That's true. A 19-year-old female chimpanzee called Azalea in a North Korean zoo. Do you think that's all right?
Not the first time I would have heard or seen anything like that. Madagascar, for one.
Well, now we're moving on to criminal sentences. So in England and Wales, the average life sentence prisoners serve are around 15 to 20 years before being paroled, although those convicted of exceptionally graver crimes remain behind bars for considerably longer. Do you think this is right?
Personally, I've seen case studies where people have committed murders and they've only got... And it can be... there's many factors that can affect how long they've got, from 1, their age, 2, the mental health, 3, possibly their upbringing, stuff like that. But I don't think there's any possible good excuse to murder someone. You know, you might have some... If people are like victims and they kill that person, then they shouldn't still have done that. But they might have disbelief that police or might do their worked. But honestly, I think things need to be much more longer, because if you're taking a life, you're taking away someone that could be living 40, 50 years and you're getting 20 years sentence.
Yeah.
That's a big, massive difference between all the things that people could have. Children, weddings, anniversaries, events like winning the lottery or something like that. You know, you're taking all that away from them, and you're the one that's getting put up in somewhere that's technically free for them, but cost to taxpayers.
Yeah. Safe
from tornadoes and all these kind of things. You've got shelter when it's thunder and lightning. Free food and drink. TVs.
Yeah. And speaking of like removing time from people's lives, do you think that the sentence should be longer?
Depending on the crime, depending on how severe it is, if it was very well planned out, if it required more than one person, if it required like multiple tools or different using things like suitcases and stuff like that, then it's going to be really traumatic for people. So I think when it comes to sentencing, I think one thing they need to think about is the family's health, the family's
Absolutely.
mental health.
Yeah.
They've lost someone important to them. They're going to experience that every day of their life. They're
Yeah.
going to notice they're not there anymore, and they need to feel that justice has been done.
Exactly. So speaking of, should it be longer? How long would you place a life sentence?
Possibly, I'd potentially do it for life. If you're taking a life of someone,
Mm.
you're killing someone, like I said, who could have a full, long life,
Yeah.
and yet you're just getting a quarter of that in prison.
Yeah, you're only getting a few
Yeah.
years.
And you might be separated from your family and your friends and stuff, but you're the one that did the crime. You should definitely do the time.
Mm. Considering the complexities of rehabilitation and public safety, how do you think the current system could be improved, if at all?
Personally, I think I'm kind of a believer where people can change.
Yeah.
Give them the opportunity, and as long as you can say you've given them a chance
Mm-hmm.
and they haven't taken it, you can then say we tried everything.
Yeah.
So I suppose in a way I think a lot of it should be like community services as well. Like, for example, clean up the streets. Around the UK, there's like a lot of rubbish and trash all over the streets. Get like people. Obviously, it's a big, massive risk to the public and risks to escapes. But one, that's them doing them showing that they can rehabilitate, but also that's helping the communities having cleaner, beneficial, more streets. Instead of just leaving it a trash. So honestly, I think people can rehabilitate depending on if they've given the opportunity. At least they should be at least given one opportunity.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's a no-brainer because the only way you can limit rehabilitations is to stop people from doing the crime.
Yeah.
And to do that, you need to up the consequences more. Otherwise you could kill someone and you'll just feel like you're getting pat in the back. That's
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Well, we're moving on to our next topic now. So in Oklahoma, there was a lawmaker called Justin Humphrey, and he decided to file a bill targeting furries or people in a subculture interested in anthropomorphic animal characters in Oklahoma schools. The bill would require parents to pick the student up, and the bill says if parents are unable to pick up the student, animal control services would be contacted to remove the student. What are your opinions on the furry subculture to begin with?
Personally, it's not something that I've never heard of for one. But especially in schools, in schools you start to learn that it's a professional way to start your life.
Yeah.
You got to be professional, and people can wear pretty much what they want in terms of like accessories. Like if you're Muslim, you might wear a hijab or something like that. I think wearing furries is going a bit too far, unless it's an event kind of day. Like here, we have non-school uniform day. So it depends on if those kind of schools have those kind of events. But personally, I think contacting like animal places, I think that is just a bit dramatic.
Yeah, I highly doubt that animal control would actually
waste their time in coming to a school
rather than doing actual jobs.
Yeah.
Just to go to a school and pick up someone who's wearing like cat ears or something.
I suppose though it is a lot. Furries is a lot better subject than in some school events. You know? So it's not like it takes someone's life away.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I feel belongs in the school.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it really affects learning, same as how having different coloured hair or nails really changes anything about the learning environment. But I feel like the furry subculture is similar to cosplay or dressing up in like medieval armour or things like that.
Yeah.
It's all sort of the same thing, but I think it's targeted a lot more just because of rumours and things that aren't even necessarily true. But do you agree with the bill that was put in place?
Yes and no. The beginning bit I get because, like I said, I don't think it's something that belongs in a school. Because, like you said, it's like cosplay, and stuff like that. You go if you want to cosplay, if you want to wear like furries, go to a convention. Go to the park with your friends wearing it.
Mm.
Would you? I think people need to ask themselves: would you wear would you dress up as a furry to a park with your friends, or not? And
Mm.
then slowly start to think: so should I be doing this in school? If I wouldn't do this outside of school, would I do it in school?
Yeah.
So I'd agree with the bit that it doesn't belong in schools, but not with the fact that if parents are called and they don't answer or they're not available, then local animal centres,
Yeah.
because it's wasting their time
Exactly.
and it's wasting money.
Yeah, I doubt the schools will pay
Yeah,
for these students to be removed.
exactly.
I think it'd probably be more beneficial if you just asked them to remove their
Yeah,
accessories or whatever.
or the school should put a rule where they go, no furries are allowed. Not someone who sounds like he doesn't have any involvement with the school.
Yeah. Um, but what do you think could be the potential consequences of the legislation for the furry community and individual rights in subcultures?
That's a good question. I don't think there'd be a big, massive consequence.
Mm.
Again, I suppose it depends on how other countries handle their school systems.
Yeah.
Because, like I said before, I'm sure other schools that are not in the UK have a lot more to worry about than people dressing up in furry costumes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in a way, comparing it to something like that, it doesn't seem like a big, massive problem. But then you've got to think, this is a school. You can't just. Sometimes you can wear what you want, like I said, with accessories and sometimes like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think it does go a bit too far.
And it's still a learning environment.
Exactly.
So
And this is a point where schools are meant to be the point where kids are, if they're not having the best life or they're spoiled or something like that, this is a point where it's going to change their lives, where it's going to give them the example of what real life is like outside of school when you're older.
So how do you think lawmakers and society should approach addressing concerns related to subcultures like furries in educational settings?
I think, well, personally, from what it sounds like, it doesn't sound like has it happened? Have you
Um,
seen
it's
any
been
articles?
hasn't been put into place yet, but it's happening very soon.
And I'm guessing that means that people have dressed up in furry costumes there.
I don't imagine that they would have come in like a full
Yeah.
costume, but probably something related to the subculture.
Personally, there are some things that I think deserves consequences. I don't really think furries should be.
Yeah, it's not really like
Because
top priority.
exactly, because like like if it's someone in a younger, like I said, it depends how different schools handle them. But if there's someone in like that have just come from primary, whatever they consider primary,
Yeah,
then I think in a way they should be not allowed,
like a bit more lenient.
bit more lenient, and maybe wear a piece of the furry. Don't wear all of it.
Yeah.
And then that way they can slowly start to go from not wearing it. Like sometimes they could say, "Oh, I've left it at home," and then slowly that could be start to.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna wear it.
I mean, it'll possibly die out anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not something that, like I said, it's not something that I believe should be a consequence. It's definitely a life lesson, sure, but
Yeah.
it's not really something that they should get a slap on the wrist or
Mm.
to be punished about, especially if they're young kids.
Yeah.
They might have come from a place where they were allowed to wear furries and therefore are used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore they've come into a new area where they go, no, you can't wear that. I think, like you said, they need to be a bit more lenient and slowly start to move away from wearing little bits of it to wearing none of it,
Yeah.
especially when they do exams as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think people that might be wearing furries might not be people that might be able to understand what exams or how serious exams are.
Yeah.
Because if they're wearing something like that to a school, then they might need a life lesson quicker than some people.
Yeah, absolutely. But with the bill, it targets anyone that even like acknowledges that they are a part of the fandom. So it doesn't matter if they're wearing the full body suit, just the ears, like some wristband, a little badge, like anything. And I feel like that is way too strict, way too excessive, way too over the top. And to call animal control, which isn't being paid is absolutely ridiculous.
I suppose in a way though, if they ring up animal charities or animal people that deal with animals, they would have to tell them what exactly they'll be dealing with. They can't just say, they can't make up a lie and say a turtle is disrupting our class
Yeah.
or something like that. They can't, because then that way they'd come out and they'd see it's a person wearing like a turtle costume.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pointless waste of their time. Whereas if they say it over the phone, they'll know this is not our problem to deal with.
Exactly.
And therefore, the impact to them would be less. So.
And like calling up animal control and saying, "Oh yeah, this person's wearing a badge."
It's a person. It's a child. You
Yeah.
know, would you do that to your son if you had a kid and they
Exactly.
wore a furry?
Yeah, this child is wearing a badge. Can you come and take them, please?
There are some standards, but I think, like you said, it's a bit too strict. Like I said, they might be coming from places they're allowed to wear furries.
Yeah.
Therefore, that should be taken into exception and slowly start to say, you can't wear this, or you can't wear the full out, or you can't wear the full thing. You can wear some of it, you can wear one thing from it, and that's it. Because otherwise, I feel like if everyone wore the full outfit in a class, no one's going to be listening to the teacher. They're all probably going to compliment each other about how good they look.
Yeah.
And therefore, no one learns anything. And therefore, they're wasting time, money, and resources that could be spent on someone else.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, thank you ever so much, Will, for joining me
this
episode. And thank you, listeners, for tuning into Hot Off the Press podcast. Join me next week, where I'll discuss even more political and news-related debates. If you want to stay updated with new releases or even just support the podcast, then you can follow us on X or Twitter, YouTube and Instagram at Hot Off the Press podcast. I've been Fenton Kelly, host of the Hot Off the Press podcast. See you next time.